Now, there's a lot to talk about, including some of the deals that have been signed and that have not been signed. But Dr. Adesina, maybe let's just start on, if you look at Africa, and of course, it's various countries, so very different ways of dealing also with COVID and the trade relationship with the UK. But how much of the COVID will actually impact the necessity to do more trade more quickly with other parts of the world?
Well, actually, the COVID has quite a lot of impact in Africa. Growth had come down by, minus 2.1% last year. But although we now say that it's going to go back to about 3.4%, for this year. The foreign direct investment, unfortunately, had been actually badly affected. Our foreign direct investment went down from $45 billion in 2019 to, roughly $27 billion by last year. So the opportunities are immense as the world goes back in terms of opening up the lockdowns and making sure that trade and investment can continue, mergers and acquisitions can continue. The fact is Africa still retains the same fundamentals that allowed it to have 5 or 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world pre-COVID. So those things are still there in terms of macroeconomic stability, the size of the economies. You go 1.3 billion size of people, and 1 out of 5 people by 2050 will be, in terms of demand, will be in Africa. So those things are actually still there. We still have now the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which opens up an Africa GDP collective of $3.3 trillion. So you cannot ignore Africa. So basically the opportunities for trade, for investment are there. The fundamentals are still there. It's like you went off a highway on a detour. We're going to get back right on it and continue to do what we've been doing. I think Africa presents itself as a market that cannot be ignored.
Emma Waite-Smith, when you look at some of the countries that are actually first in line to have some kind of trade agreement with the UK, who are you targeting first?
Well, we've spent the last few years working really hard across the continent to ensure that we've got continuity of trading arrangements. And we did a tremendous job, in my view, to achieve so much of that agenda by the 1st of January, when we officially were no longer a member of the European Union and the Customs Union. And so we're working really hard to make sure that now we have those bilateral arrangements, we are utilising those and we are implementing them effectively, with a view really to engaging across the continent with like-minded governments to see how do we build from here. The UK is absolutely an open free trade champion around the world, and we want to see that manifest itself even more across the African continent. And we heard there from Dr. Adesina about the Continental Free Trade Area and how vital that is going to be to unlock some of that inter-African trade. And we also want to be encouraging more African businesses to be trading with the rest of the world. And of course, from my perspective, more with the UK.
Dr. Adesina, Dr. Wade, good morning. Tom Keene in New York. Dr. Adesina, you hold the Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard Holy Grail of agricultural economics, which is a PhD from Purdue University. I believe it's in the state of Indiana. Dr. Adesina, I want to talk to you and link trade and the efforts you're doing with the simple need for a comprehensive water plan across Africa. Link together the age-old problem of water management with jump-starting trade in Africa.
Well, basically, the thing is, Africa is, when it comes to the issue of water, agriculture is often very, very important. The size of the food and agricultural market in Africa will be roughly $1 trillion, by 2030. So that is, agriculture is the key, and you have a rapidly growing population. And Africa has 65% of all the arable land left to fill the world by 2050. So what Africa does with agriculture and how it does it is really going to determine the future of food in the world. Now, it's not just water, but also you got to look at technology. You got to look at the value chains for transformation. So Africa is not exporting raw materials all the time. Today, you got Africa, with 75% of the global supply of cocoa beans, but we only get 2%, of about $120 billion of the chocolate market every year. And that's not the way to do trade. And so we are going to work a lot on that. But water, in terms of what you said, is climate change. Africa is badly affected by climate change. You see a lot of challenges with drought in many places. So the key really is to make sure that we can grow Africa's agricultural systems in a more climate resilient manner. So the issue of water management becomes very, very important, and the issue of water efficiency for various technologies to allow that. We have a technology, by the way, that is called water efficient maize for Africa. That now allows farmers to grow maize in drought tolerant and in drought environments. We also have something called technologies for African agricultural transformation that has provided for Sudan and Ethiopia heat tolerant wheat varieties. And you know very well that wheat is growing in temperate environments. But now we have wheat varieties that grow in very hot environment. And now we provided that to Sudan in 2019. And I tell you, it's allowed them to be able to almost reach half of their self-sufficiency in wheat production. So the point is, you need R&D, you need infrastructure, you need good value chains, but you also need to have climate resilience to make all this work.
Ms. Wade-Smith, what is the new trade dynamic for the developed world? I think of the American debate of Bill Easterly at NYU and Jeff Sachs at Columbia arguing about the deployment of our assets to jumpstart African growth. What's the new theory that works right now?
Well, look, I'm not sure if it's a new theory, but I think really what I see is at the heart of all of this is people. So on the one hand, we're talking about jobs. And if we don't increase the flow of investment into Africa and through Africa, if we don't increase the trade flows to and from the African continent, then we're not going to realize the great potential we have to create and sustain more jobs for the people who are coming into the workforce. And that's absolutely critical and has become even more central to our effort as a result of the pandemic and what we're seeing in terms of the economic damage there. But also we're talking about partnerships. And one of the issues that came out so clearly for me at our conference earlier this week, and indeed at the summit we had last year, was this point about going together and bringing together the innovation that we see in Africa with the innovation that we see in the UK, and bringing people together to really make the most of different perspectives, different capitalization and different solutions for the problems that we face.